Hi, boys and girls. Miss Lehmann back here today with Miss Daisy is Crazy. We're going to get started right away with Chapter 4, and it's titled Miss Daisy is Crazy. In the lunchroom, I opened my lunchbox and saw that my mom had packed me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I traded it with Michael Robinson for his potato chips. Everybody was talking about Miss Daisy. Miss Daisy is crazy, Ryan said. She's the weirdest teacher I ever had, said Emily. She can't read, she can't write, and she can't even do arithmetic. What kind of teacher is that? A bad one, I said. Hey, I just thought of something, Michael Robinson was able to say, even though his mouth was filled with peanut butter. Do you think that maybe Miss Daisy isn't really a teacher at all? What do you mean? Ryan asked. Maybe she's an imposter, said Andrea. An imposter? What's that? I asked. Somebody who imposts? Oh, no, silly. An imposter is somebody who pretends to be somebody else, Andrea explained. She might be a fake teacher. Maybe Miss Daisy is really a jewel thief or a bank robber, I guess. Maybe she snuck into the school and is hiding so the police won't catch her. I think you're the one that's crazy, Andrea giggled, choking on her milk. But what if Miss Daisy was a bank robber? Or she could be a horse thief or a cattle rustler or somebody who parks where there's a yellow line on the curb. My head was starting to fill with all kinds of awful things Miss Daisy could be. Maybe Miss Daisy kidnapped our real teacher and is holding her for ransom, I suggested. Wow, do you think so? Emily asked, looking all scared. What's ransom? Asked Ryan. My mom tells me I'm handsome, Michael Robinson claimed. Not handsome, ransom, said Andrea. I don't know what it is, but whenever somebody is kidnapped, they get held for it. In cartoons, people who get kidnapped are always tied up to railroad tracks, I reminded everybody. Maybe our real teacher is tied up to some railroad tracks right now. We've got to save her, said Emily, and she went running out of the lunchroom. Wait a minute, said Michael Robinson. That doesn't make sense. If Miss Daisy can't even read or do arithmetic, how is she going to be able to kidnap a teacher and tie her to the railroad tracks? She doesn't look like a kidnapper to me, Ryan said. We should tell Principal Klutz, said Andrea. He'll know what to do. No, I shouted. Don't you see how good we have it? If we tell Principal Klutz how dumb Miss Daisy is, he will fire her and replace her with a real teacher. A real teacher who knows reading and writing and arithmetic. We'll have to learn all that stuff. You don't want that, do you? No way, said Michael Robinson. I don't care if she's an imposter or a bank robber or a kidnapper, I said. I like her. I say we keep her. Me too, Michael Robinson agreed. I think she's cool. Okay, let's not tell anybody, I said. It will be our little secret. We all agreed our lips would be sealed, but not sealed with glue or anything. That would be gross. Chapter number 5. The most genius idea. After lunch, we had recess, which means we get to go out in the playground and run around. Miss Daisy said we needed to burn off energy. Now this is more my style, I announced when we got outside. I made a beeline for the monkey bars. Then me and some other kids hit the swings. After that, all the boys had a contest to see who could spin around in circles the longest without throwing up. Michael Robinson won. Then we all sat down on the grass. though Miss Daisy was pretty cool, we all agreed that we hated school. We made a promise to one another that we would hate school forever, even if we changed our minds and decided that we liked school. That's when Ryan came up with the most genius idea in the history of the world. This was his idea. We should buy the school. Ryan told us that his father worked for this big company, that once his father's company bought some other company, just like you would go into a store and buy a candy bar. Ryan said it happens all the time. He said he didn't see any reason why we couldn't buy the school just like that. If we bought the school, what would we do with it? Michael Robinson asked. We could do anything we want with it. We'd own it. Could we turn it into a video game arcade, I asked. Sure, why not? Instead of teaching reading and writing and arithmetic, we could teach kids how to play video games. And we could ride skateboards in the hallways? Asked Michael Robinson. Sure we could, Ryan said, if we owned it. I got all excited because if there's one thing that I like to do almost as much as playing football, it's playing video games. Oh, and riding skateboards. I started emptying out my pockets. I had a nickel, 3 pennies, and a lifesaver. The other boys emptied their pockets too. We separated all the pennies, nickels, and dimes into little piles. Then we added up all the money. We had $1.32. Wow, Michael Robinson said. That's a lot of money. I don't think it's enough to buy a school, said Ryan, who knew a thing or two about financial matters because his father worked for this big company. Well, how much do you need to buy a school? I asked. Beats me, said Ryan. We'd better ask Miss Daisy. We all rushed inside after recess and asked Miss Daisy how much it would cost to buy the school. Gee, I don't know, said Miss Daisy, who didn't seem to know much of anything. Why do you want to buy the school? We want to turn it into a video game arcade, I told her. What a great idea, she beamed. I love video games. There are so many schools and so few video game arcades. It makes perfect sense to turn some of these schools into video game arcades. I'll arrange a meeting with Mr. Klutz tomorrow so we can ask him if we can buy the school. But right now, we have to go to Mrs. Cooney's office. Mrs. Cooney's office is down the hall from our class. She says she's the school nurse, but personally, I think she's a spy. I'll tell you why. There's this big poster on her wall that says this. I tried to read it, and it didn't make any sense at all. Even Andrea Young didn't know how to read the poster, and she knows everything. I think Miss Cooney has created a secret code, and she's using the poster to send mysterious spy messages. I will have to keep an eye on her. When we walked into Mrs. Cooney's office, she had us all line up in size order. I was one of the shortest kids, so I had to stand in the front of the line. Then Mrs. Cooney told us to take off our shoes. At first, I thought she didn't want us to track mud all over her office. But then she told us that she was going to weigh and measure us. Obviously, she's trying to gather information about us, because that's what spies do. My friend Billy says that the heavier you are, the smarter you are, because heavy people have bigger brains. But I think Billy just says that because he is overweight. I weighed 52 pounds. Miss Cooney showed us this awesome ruler she has. It is made of metal and stretches out 6 feet long. When she presses a button, the whole thing shoots into her hand and disappears like magic. That is cool. I'll bet she has a lot of other spy tools too. She wouldn't let us play with her magic ruler, but Miss Cooney ran around measuring everything. She showed us that the bench we were sitting on was 17 inches high. The door to her office was 32 inches across, and her foot was 12 inches long. Hey, my foot is a foot, Miss Cooney exclaimed. Aren't all feet feet? I asked. Oh, no. Some feet are less than a foot and some feet are more than a foot, she replied. But my foot is exactly a foot. I had no idea what she was talking about. Miss Cooney wrapped the measuring tape around her forehead and announced, Look! My head is almost 2 feet in circumference. I knew that circumference was the distance all the way around a circle, and diameter was the distance through the middle of a circle. What's the diameter of your head, Miss Cooney? I asked. Everybody laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. That would be hard to measure, but isn't measuring things fun? Miss Cooney asked. I wonder how much the scale weighs. Miss Cooney started to measure and weigh more things, but Miss Daisy said we had to go back to class. And boys and girls, we will stop there. We'll start chapter 6 the next time. I hope you're enjoying the story.